On this episode, we push the pedal to 11.
That doesn't make sense.
We turn the volume to the metal.
That still doesn't
We talk about cars. Welcome to Save Every Universe. My name is Alec Garcia. I am a starving girl in a rain slicker struggling to escape the maw.
My name is Robbie. I'm a two-tailed flying fox trying to help out and keep up with my best friend on his many adventures.
Good one. Who were you last week?
Last week, so I was the hero from Fable 1, which is called the hero of Oakvale, but it was the hero of Fable 1.
That one was driving me crazy. You told me what it was after because it was driving me nuts. But yeah, that was a great game. Fable was fantastic.
Really good. I thought morality, even though that's not the kind of morality
but it was it was like one of those games that was famous for good, bad choices, and you get the horns out of your head if you were evil, or you get the halo or whatever.
Fable 1 was also a good example of, like, I think he promised everything before that game came out. Where it was like, you're going to be able to, like, if you want the moon to go away, your evil choices will make it go away. And like, I remember you being like, dude, this is going to change games forever. And it was really cool, and it was revolutionary.
But it wasn't that. But that's and then Fable 2 was fantastic, and then the whole franchise just died.
Fable 3 was pretty good.
I don't remember that one at all.
That doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Which is the one where you could buy real estate and get all rich. 2. Yeah, okay, that's the one I played.
3 was pretty good, but
3 was dead to me.
Anyway, this episode is not about Fable.
Last week, I was Beetle from Breath of the Wild. Have you noticed that his voice sounds a little bit like Mario?
Does it?
Think about it next time you play Breath of the Wild.
But Beetle was in Wind Waker as well, and he kind of sounded like that.
Oh, was he? Okay. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if the same guy does the thing. I don't know.
Really?
I can't validate that. Yeah, listen to it.
We don't validate things on
It's
this.
like different enough that it's Beetle and it's not Mario, but it's weirdly close.
We are off to a very bad start.
On today's episode, so in our 20th episode, we did like a random 20 questions. Mm-hmm. One of them was, what was your favorite vehicle from a game? And we started to just go into a tangent. We figured there was probably more there that we would like to discuss, just about what makes a good vehicle in a game, what's our criteria for liking or not liking a game, that sort of thing. What have you on the docket today, Robbie?
Yeah, I thought we'd go through some of my favorite classifications of vehicles and what I kind of like depending on the situation and depending on the game.
So you have some classes in mind of different types of vehicles? Why don't we jump into that and you can kind of lay a foundation for us and go from there.
I broke it down into 3, maybe 4 type categories. So one I thought of like racing or racing purposes, speed, not really fighting, not really combat, just trying to get there as quickly as possible. I had one for like adventuring, specifically like on land, think Halo or the Land Cruiser from Star Fox, whatever you want.
Yeah,
or whatever.
The Jeep from Uncharted.
Something like that. Something from like a more adventuring type standpoint, because that I think has different requirements because it has different goals. The final one, and maybe you could split this into 2, is flight, and that could be dependent on, I guess, if you had differences, I don't know, about like space versus like in a planet, if you think there's different requirements there.
Yeah.
Or if sometimes flight is flight simulators and flight racing, so there could be differences. But that's kind of how I wanted to approach this.
So did you have favorites that you had in those categories?
Why don't we start with probably my least experienced category, which is racing. So, I mean, you and I have played racing games, but not a lot.
Yeah, they're really not my cup of tea at all. I like Mario Kart. I mean, I think everyone loves Mario. You can't be a human and not like Mario Kart,
right?
I don't think.
But Mario Kart's not like a true like Gran Turismo. Or
it's
Forza.
Not a racing simulator. Right. So those really are not my cup of tea. And when I think about the criteria of like what I was thinking about, what are the best vehicles that I have enjoyed in games, like the Warthog, the Scout Car from Half-Life, the buggy that you cruise around in, that kind of thing. The crotch rockets in Vice. They're just like, I guess in most of the cars in GTA, some of them are fussy, but the crotch rockets for some reason were like the perfect thing in some of the older GTAs and stuff. One of the things that stood out to me as like a quality that I always look for that I didn't realize till we sat down to think about this episode is that I want no learning curve. I want to be able to get into a vehicle and it does cool, faster things that sort of extend the gameplay, extend the exploration of the game, but I want zero learning curve. And I think that's where the Warthog got it like really right. You jumped in and you pushed forward and the thing just went. There wasn't like a lot of the braking, stopping type stuff. It was all just these really intuitive joysticks. I think to me that's why one of the reasons why the Warthog was so great.
So I would say I wouldn't hold that. I mean, I agree for adventure games, but when it comes to a racing game, I actually like something. I thought of it as something that's kind of sleek, kind of sexy, and something I barely feel like I have a control of. In fact, something maybe I even suck with right out. Like for example, Forza. I don't know if you played. It's hard, and like I liked it, but I don't want to just be able to go and be fast and be an expert racer. Like I feel like,
and that's why I like Mario Kart. There's no learning curve. You can just pick it up and hold your right finger down and you go.
But as you do get into like the higher difficulties of Mario Kart, it starts getting kind of advanced.
But you can put like bumpers on it and stuff. It's like I
don't play with that.
As far as racing sims go, there is no learning curve, right?
That's true. Yeah. But I mean, like in Forza or even like Sparrow Racing in Destiny.
That's true.
I played a lot of Sparrow Racing. Yeah. I even like found myself starting to look up tips from the pros because I think Game Informer or somebody, IGN maybe, they had like an interview with one of the best racers in the world. Yeah. He was the guy who had like the top times from year
Sparrow
2.
Racing, really?
Yeah. So when they brought it back in year 3, they went and interviewed this guy and he gave like, here's how I get best results. And so I like hit the track in Destiny, a shooter, and was like racing. And I think that constant, like, I'm barely in control.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can pull this off. Yeah. It's like that frantic pace. I want that in a race, in a car.
Yeah.
I don't want that.
So why don't you play more racing games then?
They're hard. They are. They're really hard.
Yeah. There's a certain personality, it seems to me, that of people who like racing games. They like to know all the different little stats and, like, this one has slightly better traction and all. Like,
you can't play
it's too much work for me, from my personality and
it's
why
a lot
I
of
play
work.
Games.
You can't really be good at a good developed racing game without getting really into like the meta game.
Right.
And even Mario Kart, once you start getting into it, has a really crazy, I don't know if you've like gone online and started exploring the meta game for Mario Kart. Yeah. It's a deep well. It's crazy. Racing games do have like a huge meta, and there's like this, if you're actually playing with people who play those games regularly and you roll your jalopy out on the track, and I'm like, what the fuck? You're using that with this? I can't believe
you've even given me some of that bull crap a little bit.
I have. I
pulled out my Switch. I was like, oh yeah, I'm playing a little Mario Kart. And you're like, dude, why aren't you using Metal Mario with a high weight balance with a ratio?
I couldn't believe what you were doing. I was like, and they let you go out on the track with that? Yeah. Like, it just...
I can win at 50cc.
Yeah, well, 50cc. Yeah, I mean, there is it. I think more just life has gotten away from me and where I just don't have the time. But I got pretty into Forza for a while, actually. Like on the 360, I think I was playing it. And actually, I played the first one on... I'm sorry, I don't remember the like numbers or whatever, but I played the first iteration of it on Xbox One, because Forza is the Microsoft exclusive.
One of the launch titles or something, or close to it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On one?
I think so. It was really early. And I actually really enjoyed it. But, you know, it's not bumper racing. There's no blue shells that are going to change everything in the 11th hour of the race. Yeah. And there was kind of some justice in that, too. You had to win off a skill.
It was really just the skill of taking turns and your timing and your pacing of gas brake.
Yeah, so I like something that, to sum that up, like I like something that makes me feel like I'm about to lose this.
Yeah.
And it's like, to everyone else, it might look really cool, but I am barely keeping it together.
Maybe I always just got too caught up in wanting to just run someone else off the track and stuff, because I was always more of even way back in like PlayStation 1 days, like I was always more of a Twisted Metal guy.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to just drive in circles and shoot at somebody. Like I would rather do that than
that's not really
win
racing.
on skill or whatever.
I remember in your room, I don't know if it was like on your PlayStation or whatever, but I remember you having like a Gran Turismo sticker that was like, he may beat my time, he may beat me in the race, but he'll never pass me on the inside. Yeah. Do you remember that? You had like a sticker, and I remember.
I like stickers, so if I get one and it's like remotely close to something I'm interested in, so racing games, video games, I've probably just slapped it on there. I don't think I ever played Gran Turismo though.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think if I did, I played it once and then traded it in.
I thought we played Gran Turismo too. I played it briefly.
It's possible.
But it's a cool sim, but you gotta like racing games.
Yeah, and I really don't. Actually, that like racing games and fighting games just are two of my least favorite categories. I can't get into them, which is a bummer, because my wife's favorite genre is the only games she plays besides Candy Crush is racing games.
Really?
Yeah, so I think I need to get a little bit more into them.
Yeah, you might need to. So, yeah, let's go into adventure, since that's a little more your speed. No?
We'll leave an awkward pause in there for you.
Dad jokes. All right.
No, but Destiny did the same thing. Destiny, Warthog same developers, right? But like, hold a button and you get on a cool scooter and you zip around and then you just jump off it, and that's that. It adds to the game, and there's zero learning curve. Like, that's what I look for in a vehicle.
I think something about Destiny that's interesting is that I feel like the Sparrow, I missed having the Warthog in Halo was like kind of beefy. Mm-hmm. You kind of felt like it could take a beating.
Yeah, you could go gun on it like over a cliff, and like it would.
The Sparrow was kind of fragile, and I get kind of annoyed if I felt like I'd like trip on a rock and the thing would blow up.
Yeah, or you take something too fast and you spin and you get dumped off the edge, and
So I liked the Sparrow as a racing tool. I did not like it as an adventuring.
Oh,
vehicle.
really? Interesting.
Yeah, not really. Huh. It was fast. But...
Yeah. So I do think the Sparrow racing, though, was because this was one of the just flying stuff in general, right? Like anytime there's like a sci-fi game that's like a shooter or an adventure, they're like, I wish we could fly more and stuff. And I've said in past episodes that I think that's a terrible idea, because usually when they tack tack on some sort of like transportation thing into a game that is totally fundamentally something else, it usually is kind of just sucky because that's not what that game is designed for. I think so, in my opinion anyway. And so I was like, why would you want to fly in Destiny? Why would you want to control your ship and go on the journey to Venus or wherever? Mm-hmm. Like, that's not what the game is about at all. Right. That's really stupid. But I do think Sparrow Racing is a good, like a weirdly successful example of where they took the vehicles and they actually built in a playable, like, easy to come back to and play over and over again thing inside of a game that is not fundamentally a racing game. They pulled it off, which is kind of surprising.
They did. You know, sometimes one of the cool things about flying, even in a game where it's not really that kind of game, one of the best examples I can think of is in like an MMO, like in World of Warcraft, they added flying mounts in Burning Crusade, or in Final Fantasy XIV, mm-hmm. they added, even though it wasn't like a function other than getting from point A to B, you get to appreciate kind of a new perspective of the game. So when there's these beautifully crafted landscapes, that's something I wouldn't mind seeing in Destiny, but the developer has to put in the work to make it beautiful from every angle. Right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So, like, I mean, like chocobos and stuff, like there's other Epona and Zelda, like there's other things that to me those serve a little bit more of like an exploration travel thing, and Destiny's more about getting somewhere and shooting some stuff, I think. So it never made sense to me why you would try to shoehorn more vehicles in there, but I felt like they really pulled it off with Sparrow Racing, which is kind of an anomaly, I think.
So I guess for me, for adventuring, I feel like it was, I want something, I think durability is more important than speed. So I think Epona's actually kind of cool and like more rugged, especially in like Breath of the Wild. If you get some of those horses are like, you feel like you're riding a Clydesdale, which is pretty badass. Or the Warthog is an easy example. And you already mentioned this, but the Uncharted Jeep, like it just felt like I could fall off a cliff and like, let's just keep on trucking. Like part of me that wants to be Ford Tough or whatever.
Well, I mean, they did a pretty good job of capturing that feeling of like being out jeeping on some rocks and stuff like that.
Sliding around. Yeah, Uncharted did a really good job because like the the way it slid around in mud, and like you had to cinch up to pull doors off and stuff. Like that was really cool. Yeah. And I hadn't played a game actually that had some of those mechanics that I thought were so well pulled off.
Yeah, I mean, like when you think about how they, like with the winch and all that, and wrapping it around objects. And
Did I say cinch? I meant winch. Can you say
I know
cinch?
what you meant. You cinch a knot or something, right? But
a winch.
You can cinch a winch.
Don't be a Grinch.
I think you can cinch a winch.
Can we turn this into a Dr. Seuss episode? Sorry, go ahead.
Got some dad jokes up in here today. But yeah, like the mechanics of like the player jumping over like the cable once it was attached to something before you get back in the car, and they did some stuff that was like really well polished for something that seems so simple. But yeah, I had never seen that in a game before.
Did you push the limits on the Jeep in Uncharted? Like, did you go like off really high waterfalls?
I did. Yeah, I ramped off a couple of things.
What happened?
And for the most part, unless you like really go off a cliff, then you just die. It goes to the gray screen or whatever. But they would have dialogue. Like, so if you ramped off and you hit like Scully. Scoliosis. Wow, we got to get it together on this episode. Sully would be like, "Oh, my spine." So Sully, spine, scoliosis, Scully. See, we got there.
Scoliosis.
3 degrees of separation. Anyway, Sully would say like, "Oh, my spine, kid. I gotta whatever.
You gotta warn me before."
Yeah, so they had dialogue built into it for that kind of thing. I thought they pulled that off really well.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know. I haven't played enough Destiny 2, so we're taking a break from Destiny 2 to have this episode just for you guys.
That's why our brains are fried, probably.
Love you.
Yeah. But
I wouldn't mind seeing a few more vehicle choices.
Yeah.
I know you said
we'll wait for the Destiny 2 episode, spoilers. As a counter example though to like the learning curve thing is like, so like Battlefield, it's actually really hard to be a good pilot I feel like in Battlefield and a good vehicle driver that sets your team up to like take good shots. It's a steep learning curve. And this is like one of the things with Battlefield, like I'm ashamed to admit, but I do it. If I spawn into one as a pilot, I fly to the other side of the map to capture the point and I jump out and I just blow the plane up. I'm kind of ashamed of that because maybe a better pilot could have made a better difference with that.
Could have done more with that.
Yeah.
Oddly enough,
waste it. It's a one-way trip.
I want from my flight vehicles, which you want from your adventuring vehicles. Like, I don't want the steep learning, which is weird because I like it in a racing game. I don't like the steep learning curve for flight. And that is stupid that I feel that way because a pilot actually takes a lot. I can drive a car in real life. I can't actually fly a plane. But I want to have trouble driving in a video game, but I don't want to have trouble flying a plane. I get that it doesn't make sense, but that's how I feel about it. Like when I'm flying something, I want it to be kind of like more balanced, nimble, but I want to have teeth. I don't like Star Wars ships are good examples.
Yeah.
Like X-Wings or something.
Or like the 64 game where you wrap the cable around the AT-AT. Yeah. That was a very like intuitive, simple flying sim that worked really well. But I think just overall, I think I'm probably in the mainstream majority there when it comes to racing. Is like, I think that's why the Warthog is widely regarded as like one of the best vehicles of all time, is because you could hop in and drive around and start shooting shit, and that was.
Well, if you don't like driving, you didn't have to, right? You could always be the gunner.
Oh, and your AI your little gunny or whatever.
They did add that at like I think by Halo 3.
Yeah, you could gun and someone else could drive for you.
Right, yeah, the NPCs would actually do the other jobs, which was pretty cool.
But even in multiplayer, if you're playing Capture the Flag or whatever, it was anybody could really. I mean, there were people who were better than others, but I mean. It didn't take a good driver to get to the other side of the map in a Warthog.
We had Rhino on for a PC episode, and he and I had like 2 hour screaming match at whose fault it was that the Warthog got blown up from one match we played.
Yeah.
It was like a legendary. We weren't even fighting people. Yeah. We were just fighting the NPCs, and it turned into a screaming match for 2 hours and a continual grudge for like a year. Where it was like, that was, by the way, like unrelated. That's your fault.
That's just a good Halo session. Don't put that on the Warthog.
But it was, I was driving and he was gunning, and I was like, you should have shot that guy. You shouldn't have driven us there. And it was this whole whose fault was it? But you don't even have that debate in like solo piloted vehicles, right?
Right.
It's your fault, I guess.
Yes.
But in flight, did you ever try flying like the helicopters and stuff in a GTA online?
Yeah, I was terrible at them. Same with Battlefield.
They're hard.
Yeah.
They're really hard.
Actually, okay, I will say one of the easiest ones I've ever used that I thought they did a really nice job with was Ghost Recon Wildlands. That was for it being sort of a more slightly more on the more realistic-y open world side. Or the planes and the helicopters were actually fairly easy to use and steer your buddies around and let them shoot and that kind of stuff. I thought they did a good job.
Well, I remember you flying us on a helicopter, and I was like white knuckle the whole time because the way you were flying, I was like getting air
there was
sick.
no enemies. It's not like you were shooting.
I was getting airsick like at home. Like I was like, I can't do this. You were like,
I was
like
going
tilting the
dipping
nose
up
and then back up. And you're like, this is how you do it. You just ride the waves. I'm like, it's the air. There's no waves.
It was the Dolphin going in.
You were the Dolphin, and I was like getting sick, and I was like, can I jump out? I was like, I'd rather kill myself.
Okay, so I thought I was a good flyer. I didn't crash.
But you didn't crash, actually, and I was like, we're gonna die the whole time. You're like, we're not. The Dolphin's riding the waves, and sure enough, you landed it. I don't know how, but you landed it.
I will say this: anytime I fly a helicopter in a video game, if the thing's even, right, and this is
what's the thing? What do you mean?
If your propeller, right, on top,
yeah, the technical term,
it's even on top, right? You are moving forward, kind of, but it's like it feels so slow. So I just dip that nose, and the ground catches up to you really quickly. I don't know how to strike the balance, so I do the Dolphin where it wiggles up and down. You know.
Well, we got there, and I mean that's how I learned in GTA. I haven't taken the time, and I need to take the time in Battlefield to learn it, because even though I don't love it, I like being the driver and I like being the pilot. Yeah. So I generally, if it is a really difficult game, I'll push through it anyway and learn. But since I'm pretty new to the Battlefield series, just from you kind of saying you really need to play this game, so I haven't taken the time.
Well, and the gunner is dependent on the pilot. If you have a crap pilot, you can't hit anything. Shot. Yeah.
So there's a lot to consider, I think, in the Battlefield, especially flying. You've seen me on a horse and on a motorcycle. I got no problems there, but yeah, I need to take the time to learn it. I got one more question I kind of wanted to end on.
Yeah, shoot.
What do you think it is when we play these games and we pilot vehicles, even before we had driver's license, before we really had driven anything, there was like an inherent knowledge of this handles good and this handles bad. Right. And it didn't take, I mean, you did it at 10 and you knew like this is a really hard game to handle.
And people have different preferences of what that means. That is interesting.
It's kind of interesting where that comes from. Is like our sense of balance, our sense of. I mean, the developers probably thought it was pretty good when they put it out.
So, like, does your choice in vehicle like reflect more about how you play games or your personality, kind of thing? Like because everything that you said describing what kind of vehicle you like was not anything I would say.
Right. Yeah. So I'm kind of intrigued by that idea because there are some vehicles like the Warthog that are universally, even though everyone loves them, they're still good drivers and bad drivers.
True.
You know, I was pretty good at driving a Warthog. If my brother's listening, he can go to hell because I know he says I'm not, but I was pretty good at it. And then you'd ride with people who are so bad.
That is true.
But both me and that guy, or a truly good driver, would all say, I love the Warthog. Yeah. Because it handles good. I'm curious what it is.
So I think that is, I think if you wanted to drive that thing like a maniac and just go straight and fast, you could. I think
you could. I mean, it is pretty quick.
The simplicity of the controls made the Warthog great because it was like if you wanted to take turns tight and you were a good driver, you could do that. But if you wanted to like kind of go slow and cruise around corners because you sucked and you didn't know what you were doing, but you needed to get to point B, it was easy to do that too. They simplified everything that's complicated in racing games. Like, I mean, depending on what game it is, but there's like a gas, there's a boost, there's a brake, there's a handbrake, there's all this shit. And this was push the stick forward and then use this other one to go left and right.
So do you think it's that inherent, or that however quickly you feel like comfortable with the vehicle that helps satisfy that feeling?
Yeah, I think for like those types of things, like the closer they can match it to the controls that somebody's already familiar with, the better off most players are going to be. I think that's a different question though than your personality thing, because like I go for control and tight turning, and I don't ever want to feel like this thing's about to rocket out of control or almost about to rocket out of control. I want to beat somebody. The times I do play racing in Mario Kart or whatever, I want to beat someone on having better control and tight turns and those kinds of things. I don't want outright speed on the straightaway. Freaks me out. I don't want any part of that.
I like throwing it fast and loose and like barely keeping it together.
Which is why you can't beat Master Trials on
absolutely
Breath of the Wild.
I have now I got all the shrines. I beat Ganon.
But I would say that there is a personality thing there in racing games that if you were to look at the preferences of like how you tricked out a car on a racing game, there's probably similarities in how you play shooters and how you play platformers.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to conduct some statistical polls. Yeah, like we have found, like we've unlocked.
Yeah, here's how to decode your personality.
Yeah, we'll do like the equivalent of like Young's archetype personality test.
Build your dream car, and then we'll tell you everything.
Answer
about
these
yourself.
10 questions that seem unrelated, and we'll tell you what vehicle you drive. That's a good.
That is good.
We'll do that follow up.
Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please go give us money. Lots of money at Save... No.
Money.
Thank you for listening to Save Every Universe. If you enjoyed this episode, please go give us money. Lots of money at patreon.com/Save Every Universe. Thank you for listening.